Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? This morning or this afternoon, we're actually 12 high noon. I'm going to be talking with David Scorteccia, and he is with Sonnect with Sound Bullet. And I'm going to pretty well sit back here in the wings. And if you got any questions coming in, just type them away over here. We'll be monitoring the comments. And brother, take it away.
Nice one. All right. What would you like to know in particular about Sonnect or the Sound Bullet? Just so I know.
Well, with the product before when I had contacted you, I'd never even heard of it. And there are a lot, some devices on the market for doing mind checks. And if you want to go through the history, how you came up with it, if you want to, definitely want to talk about the features, maybe where you've had it, some events that it's taken to, if you want to do any name dropping as far as the people, the bands, people out there gigging that are using them.
Yeah, sure.
This is your ball game, big boy.
Okay. Well, let's give this a go, right? So basically, I am a live sound engineer, and I have been doing this for about 12 years. And something like 4, maybe 5 years ago, I kind of got myself into a pretty kind of difficult situation where I was working in a kind of jazz festival in Edinburgh. And I got myself into this situation where we were working in this theater, and the safety curtain or the tabs went up, and the band was supposed to start, but then there was an issue because we weren't able to line check during the changeover trumpet effect that was on the other side of the curtain. So basically, the presenter came on stage and he went this is such and such the band, and here they go, right? But then we couldn't start because we didn't get this trumpet. So basically it was just me on stage, there wasn't I was doing monitors as well as patch as well as everything. So I just had this really, really kind of bad moment where I had to go between the monitor desk and the in the front line where the trumpet effects were. And this thing kind of lasted for 3 really bad minutes, in front of a dark, silent audience. And what I really lacked there was to have something that I could have used, in that really stressful moment to pinpoint which section of the chain of the signal was, was bad, because there was obviously a split, and then there was a snake, then there was an XLR going into a DI box, and then the little jack going into his mad pedal board, and then this trumpet, and so there were quite a lot of things in the chain. So that experience there just kind of gave me a kick in the butt to kind of I need to make something right. That can kind of save me in this kind of situations. So then I just kind of got busy, and it must have taken me something like 5 months to make my own little kind of tester. And I wouldn't really call it a prototype because I didn't really have I didn't really have the idea of making it into a product. I just wanted to make something that would kind of save my own life, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So I made after 5 months, I made this little boy here. It's a little. It kind of resembles what the Sound Bullet is now, but it's completely DIY, and it's just kind of hand drilled, and there's loads of little wires inside, and it's really messy, but it kind of it does the basic functions that what then the Sound Bullet would have became does. So it generates pink noise. It's got an internal speaker, kind of stuff like that. So I started to use this on my kind of daily, patching duties or whatever, and it really saved my life, because it's it's kind of an uncertainty remover in a way, because it's when I realized that when I was patching kind of complex stages and festivals and stuff, that there was quite a lot of let's hope that that's going to work kind of thing, because I didn't really have a tool that would allow me to quickly check that everything was like, every line was confirmed. So like using this little tool kind of helped me to to like really like like mark that list, and just kind of like be confident about it, and then concentrate on what sound engineers should really do, which is like mixing, or like mixing monitors, or like all of that stuff that people think sound engineering is. And then it just so happened that like some of my friends, like some of the like sound engineers I was working with, were like, "Oh, Dave, this is like a really like it's like I really want something like this.
This is a cool thing."
Hey, can you make me one? Can you make me one? And the kind of the like requests kind of amplified, and I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna try and see if I can maybe make like a few of these. So then basically I went to my dad has an electronics factory or company in Italy, and they make like electronic devices for stoves. So it's like a completely different kind of business. But I was really lucky because one of the electronics engineer in the company had some experiences with audio. So like I was kind of able to talk like the right language to him. And then he asked me like what is this thing like supposed to do, and like what's the level output that you want, and like all of those kind of electronics engineering questions, right? And then he said, "Oh, look, like you need to give me like a spec." So like I worked on a product requirement specs, and then basically, long story short, after 2.5 years, like the product kind of came to life. And when I discovered how much it costs to pay for the tooling and all of the kind of infrastructure that you need to build in order to like mass produce something, I realized that it was going to cost us so much that we would have had to sell every sound bullet for like $1,000. So it's like that's that's why I then kind of thought, okay, so maybe like let's not make 20 or 50 pieces. Let's maybe think about maybe 700, 800, kind of thing.
Right.
Which would kind of drop the the overheads cost or whatever. And then we launched in October 2019, and we were really like surprised because like many people pre-ordered like a product that is new, is like unknown, from like an unknown brand, and like they didn't even know when it was going to get delivered to them. So like that just kind of gave us like so much confidence that this was like something that was actually going to help the lives of other sound engineers. And then like that's when we started to think about more making a brand name, and like all of the kind of business things that like you need to do. So basically the whole process kind of it kind of happened out of a necessity. Like I didn't really work on a business plan. I didn't really think of I'm gonna make like such and such amount of sound bullets or whatever. It all kind of like went from what people asked. So here it is. So like this is it 2 years down the road? I don't know, like COVID kind of adds like, like an unknown amount of time.
Well, it's necessity, brother, is the mother of inventions. That's the saying. And you're absolutely right. And I know when I received my sound bullet, it is built like a tank. I mean, it's when they did their 57s and 58s, here in America, and I'm sure it was all the way around the world, they actually built rock and roll on these mics. They take so much abuse, and I'm not saying to abuse the product, but they got that weight to it. They're heavy. And I noticed, you got Dave Ratt, man. Dave Ratt in the audio industry over there on the West Coast, he's carrying your product. And I don't know the man personally, but I can just about assure anybody watching this video, Dave Ratt's not going to put his name behind it if it wasn't something of extreme quality, to get this done. Because, and hopefully we're going to get into this in just a bit, but you don't have to be out here packing these arenas and these stadiums. You're running your own gigs. This is something you can do when you set up your line checks. if you're in the church and you're up there, you get there before everybody else, like we always do, and you're literally going and you're doing this by yourself, and you're going, man. And then you got that confidence, like you were talking about. Nobody has to come up, bam, bam, bam. Is this thing on? Doing their checks. Everything's already set. It's set. You're getting your signals back. Everything's coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are quite a lot of areas in being a sound engineer that are very maybe I don't know what's the right word, but like out of control, and it's good
chaos.
to kind of chaos. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
it's controlled chaos.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, and like chaos. Like, you know what? I love chaos for art. Like chaos is what makes like creativity good, and that's kind of what like if you're working in a studio and like places like that, that's where like like chaos is like it's like a good thing. But when it comes to like cabling and getting all of the cabling like infrastructure management on, it's like you don't want that to be chaotic, because like it's like that's not where the chaos like should happen.
So it'll put you into panic, up until that time, to where you finally figure out where the broken link in the chain on that signal path, and then by that time, you're already on nerves before the first performers even comes up to the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like it's like this has been a really incredible journey for me, because I feel like at heart I am a live sound engineer. This is like what my kind of like vocation was when I when I was younger. I was always attracted by all of the little flashing lights and the complexity, and being in kind of backstage. That this is what I'm drawn to do. I never really wanted to be like a product manager or like sell stuff. I just wanted to like in a way like sell myself. But actually, in the process, I'm actually loving all of the like product design and engineering development. I'm actually learning so much about our kind of everyday objects around me, and it kind of made me a little bit more humble. So like I don't get so frustrated about stuff, because I know how hard it is to like make a product. So it's kind of given me this kind of like being humble about like manufacturing companies in a way, and like people that make things to help each other's lives in a way.
Well, I agree with you 100%, brother, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I just recently finished my first book, and I figured, I'm just going to send it up to Amazon, blah, blah, blah. It don't work like that. You got to meet their specifications. They want to know everything in advance. You got to lay it out for them before they can lay it out for you. And as sound engineers, that's what we do. We got to know what the band wants us to do before we can before we can do what they want us to do. Whether it's stage plots or anything else, we've got to have that vital information. And it is very humbling, because you go back and I'm sure you have this feeling, whether anybody else likes the book or doesn't matter. It's my first baby. It's almost like, I've been pouring my heart and soul into this thing for like 18 months during this same COVID area. And never in the life of me did I ever think I would publish something, that would have my name on it, other than a blog post here and there, maybe. So I understand that feeling, man. It's a good feeling. And again, when I hold it in my hand, I can see the effort, the thought, that you put into this thing. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's I think that one of the most like satisfying things that that can happen to me on a kind of typical like office day in a way, is to like receive emails from people that either like give you like constructive feedback, like about like the sample, and like whatever they would prefer it did better, or just like just people that are really happy that like finally somebody like brought to them as something that can really help them. Because
I'm that kind of guy. I think I said you one. It's like, man, that I wish I'd have known about it sooner.
Yeah. So like I say this because I feel that, so every time I had to, like I won't mention any brand, but anytime I had to kind of send an email to some kind of audio, like pro audio brand and stuff like that. I always kind of felt a bit afraid of like doing that, because I kind of thought that some kind of grumpy engineer, like would have, like responded to me. But we actually love that, like we actually love to like be chatting to the people that are using this little like things, and it's like super cool. It's like there's like lots of people doing super cool things, like they're working in like the like Olympics, and there's people working in stadiums, and people just touring like all the time, and there's people like doing kind of church work, and like there's like so many like different broadcasts and like television, and it's really cool to kind of empathize with them and kind of like get in like in their shoes and understand what is their kind of utmost need in a way. It's
right.
Like,
yeah, so to jump in, like you said, Dana, David, I just love what you're talking about a little bit, like the prototyping and what it goes through. I don't know if you guys follow this tech YouTuber, but it reminds me kind of the process. He did a video recently about the Linus Tech Tip screwdriver. It's a Canadian YouTuber. They were working on trying to build a new best computer screwdriver for computer people by computer people. And they were talking about the same thing, that like they didn't realize how hard it was. I think they said they went through 7 main revisions, and of revisions 5, 6, and 7, they had 5 minor revisions just to get the ratchets and like the materials made. It's harder than people realize.
Yeah, and it's like I've watched that video, and it's like incredible, and it kind of gives you such a good like insight. And there's actually like another guy that talks about the all of the kind of life of like like creating a physical product. His name is Ben Einstein, and it's he kind of describes how it is. There's quite a lot of literature about software companies, where you can develop apps and like websites, and stuff like that. There's like like a lot of kind of product teams, how to do this and that. But when like but when you get into like hardware, like everything is like it's like so much harder, in a way, like like, excuse my pun, but because if you make one decision, then it kind of multiplies by the amount of pieces that that you need to order and get them shipped and get them stored into like a physical thing. So like every little button that you click when you're kind of making like products, feature decisions, is like it can have like a really kind of big impact on like money, on like like what like what building you're gonna do that in, and also waste. Because if you order something that is wrong, then like all of a sudden you've just got 2 boxes full of like plastic that you can't really like reuse. So it's
right.
It's quite challenging, but in this, like, I'm actually like loving like this this challenge, because again it just kind of makes me appreciate like everyday object that I use. Even like forks. I'm
you go in there and look at your microwave in a wholly different light now. Go, oh, microwave! Somebody had to sit down, design this thing. The tooling, dies. To where they can make it affordable for the masses.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I would like to share this like notion, like in case like some other people would like to make products, which is a really fascinating thing to do. Like one, it's a lot easier to just make between 1 and 20 pieces of one thing, right? But then when you go above like 50 pieces, and go to like from 50 to 1,000 or like 10,000, then it's when it kind of gets like quite challenging, because like like it's like you need to set up a machine that will kind of like, for example, with the with the chassis of the sound bullet, there's like a like an injection molding machine that that is like, it costs like so much money, like so just for the injection molding we paid something like 10 grand.
Wow.
And it's just like something that its job is to just make like 2 halves of a shell, like that's it. And then like it's really hard to find like suppliers like for like small quantities. So there's like a kind of big void between like 1,000 pieces and like 5,000 pieces, like nobody wants to work with you. Like if they're a supplier, because like these suppliers are used to work with like much bigger order quantities. Like they would want to like work around the like 10,000 units or like 50,000, like 100,000, because it's like so much of an investment to set everything up, like like at the beginning, just for like 100 pieces.
Right. Oh yeah.
So like that's the that's the kind of like the complexity. But I was really naive when I started this, and I'm really happy that I was, because if somebody sat down with me and explained everything I have to go through, like at the beginning of those like the 3 years, I would have been like, you know what? I would just where's my SD12? It's so much easier to just like find like the stuff, like gigging is so much easier. But so I'm really glad that I was really like naive about it, because it helped me to not get like overwhelmed by how many things that like you need to go through.
Yeah,
Right.
like one thing you're talking about, like I think most people don't realize is like you're saying like the scale, but not just that some people don't realize when you go from like the prototype, if you're doing like handmade small production to mass production, the biggest thing you have to go through is international certifications. There's certifications on electronics of all types that it can't generate unwanted RF, which you see in the church all the time with cheaper products, or it has to be rugged to a certain point where like if you drop it from a certain height, it's not just going to break. And people don't realize that these things matter, but again, it's money and time.
Yeah, and it's like if you like as you're saying, if you just sat down at the very beginning of this, and like, I want to make a product, right? And then you kind of start to think, oh, like like I need an IP thing, like IP protection. I need the the CE, like certification, RF stuff. You're kind of like, oh my god, like I don't really want to do this. That it's kind of better if you kind of find out as you go along. That there's actually so we're working on like new products at the moment, and there is one that would have taken advantage of the Bluetooth technology. So we kind of spend quite a lot of kind of R&D time and like into making it, and then after maybe something like 9 months, we we realized that in order to use Bluetooth technology, like we would need to pay $9,000 to Bluetooth. And then we were, and then we were like, hang on a minute. Okay, so do we need Bluetooth? Because it's like,
yeah, you don't realize about the licensing cost, because people are like, oh yeah, Bluetooth's owned by another company, so like if you want to use it, you have to pay licensing.
Yeah, you can you can build your own clothespins if you want to use them in your own back door, but if you want to start selling them, you're going to pay somebody.
Yeah.
Everything has a patent or a copyright or a trademark stamp to it. Well, brother, we've been talking about this thing, man. Hold it up here and let's see what. Give us the rundown on
it. The what? Sorry.
Give us the rundown on it on the sound bullet. Let's look at some of the features that you've built into this awesome piece of gear.
Sure. Right. Okay. So like the whole idea. So the whole idea is that the sound bullet needs to be something that you can carry with you. So this is like the main. This is not really a feature, but it's the most important feature thing, because you could have like the best box full of like everything, but then if it's something that you would have forgotten, like like in your bag or whatever, then like there's really like no point on having it in a way. So like the whole idea is that I just needed something that would fit in my pocket, so that if I was in a situation where I needed it, it was just like right there with me. And the way
you remember when we were going back and forth, we were talking about different terminology. And I was telling you about being a hillbilly up here in southwestern Virginia, and about terms. And I've been thinking about this, and I'll give you, use it any way you want to. But to me, your product, brother, is a stage manager. I was sitting there watching a video late last night, early this morning, in these arenas, where the guys are walking on the stage. And they got these two-way radios, and they're going to all the instruments, and they got the one stage manager, Give me the kick, give me the snare, check, hi-hat, give me the check. Guy picks up, does the check, and they're all just working together. And the stage manager's reporting back to the sound engineer. And what you got in your hands right there, that is a stage manager. Because you can go up, that is literally reporting back to the sound engineer. And I won't cut you off no more. That just popped into my head when you were saying that.
Yeah, like I absolutely love that analogy. Right, where was? Oh yeah, so like the whole kind of like everything that comes out of the Sunwillet feature set is the fact that like what you might be setting up first is all of the like line system and all of the the cabling infrastructure. For example, like the multi-core cable, and you would set up your snakes, or like what we call in in the UK like the sub boxes, and then you would kind of set up like you wouldn't really have your PA up in the air right away, but then you would have your kind of fly loom ready. So one thing that this kind of emulates is being like a source of a signal, sort of like like a microphone or like a desk, right? So basically, with the Sunwillet generates pink noise, which can kind of output some kind of signal into something that like something where the signal should go to at a later time, or for example, if you're like miking up an orchestra, like you might not get all of your really expensive mics on the orchestra right away, but you might lay all of your like cabling infrastructure on the stage right away. So this kind of allows you to pretend that it's like a little microphone, but it doesn't really make a like a microphone sound, right? It doesn't like pick up the acoustic waves, but it just generates something that is like repeatable, kind of like like what the pink noise is, and then I can just go around and kind of flash into like each line, like if the cabling infrastructure from the stage to like the monitor engineer and the front of house engineer is getting like that signal. Because then when the orchestra players like come on, they're all kind of like thinking about something else. They'll all be stressed. There'll be like rehearsals. They'll be like running late or whatever. And then if something goes bad with a line, like you don't really want to kind of lose like too much time in working out. Oh, is it the microphone? Is it the capsule? Is it the little XLR? Is it this? I like to work in like layers, so to just confirm the bottom layer works first, and then when I add uncertainties on top, I know what part kind of worked before. So in summation, the Sunwillet generates pink noise, which can be outputted onto the Mayo XLR. But also, the Sunwillet can pretend to be like a little tiny speaker. So if you plug an output from a desk or like a system processor into the input XLR, then this little thing has a speaker. So it can you can test that the line would have like the line is healthy basically. One way I find this feature really helpful is when I have on stage, I do quite a lot of kind of rock and roll gigs. So there'll be like the usual kind of drummer, like the keyboard player, and these days everybody's on IMs. Right. So when like some people would be on RF packs and some people would be on hardwire IM packs. So before giving them all of the IM packs and people kind of need to fiddle around with the in-ears and stuff, I can just test that the XLR that I run to the keyboard player, that I run to the drummer, I run to the the synth player or whatever works, so that when I then connect the XLR into their little mixer or into the little kind of body pack or whatever, if there is an issue, I know where to intervene. I know where to kind of go to, as opposed to go back to the desk code. Like, did I soft patch this well? Is it patched right on the patch box, or where is the issue? I checked that before, so I know where to address the issue.
So because if it doesn't work after that, it's got to be in the object or the link, the signal path after that. After all of your line checks, they go in there and they plug in that body pack. They plug in that $8,000 microphone and you're not getting any signal, and well, from this XLR jack back to my system, it's working. So your troubleshooting is cut down tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely, and also like the confidence that you use to say, the sentence, "Oh, it works up until here," So because I remember I used to say that, but then I wasn't really like sure that I had checked. It's just like when you're working on a stage, everything happens like really quickly, and you kind of people want you to make assertive statements, and so like sometimes I kind of had to say something, but I wasn't like really sure about it. Like this time, I can just say that like with like 100% confidence because I tested that. So it's it really helps my my job, and it's not just really about accountability or pointing the finger to like somebody else, but if I wanted to be helpful towards that artist, which I would usually be, then I know where to kind of address the issue as opposed to just go mad and kind of trying to like lift up the wires and just kind of where's the problem, which usually happens,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with the mixers that we use mostly with my community, the X and M32s, and we can generate our own pink noise, brother, but it's real hard to hook something up to where you can go up there and test every single output. So you can literally, and I made that other video concerning this. You've got wedge monitors, you've got personal monitors, you've got the in-ear monitors, and you can have those hard wires sitting there, and you're up there, you're sitting back. I'm up there with the iPad, I'm running my apps, and I hit that generator, and it's coming out of that speaker on your device, and I go, okay, this all the way through my routing, from the inputs to the outputs to the buses to the matrix, just whatever I've got this going through, because we all start at a certain level, and when nothing comes out, you kind of get into a little bit of panic, and it could be something as simple as having a bus fader pulled down. Even though you're seeing that signal, but it's when you hear it, everything is coming through.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's I agree 100% with that. What else? Oh yeah. So I think the one of the features, or I don't really like to talk about features because it sounds like a marketing thing, but I like to talk about uses or like benefits in a way. So like one of the use of the sound bullet that kind of was really, really like excited when I first kind of actually used it. And I would have said that this is like my, like if I had to sacrifice any of the other uses, like this would be like the one that I would kind of want to preserve, is the ability to output signal onto the, the quarter inch. Because for the first time in my life, I suppose, I don't know if like somebody else can relate to this, but I was able to have something little tiny that I can just plug into a DI box. Because like before that area, I suppose like before I had this, like to test the input of a DI box, is just, it gets really kind of messy because I will be on stage, like I will basically just like tapping on mics and all that, like on a changeover. But now, right, like before, like what I did before is that I would use like an SM57. And then I had an XLR to like a quarter inch jack and kind of wrap that like around my neck and like
the hangman's noose.
And then like there would be like no way for the sound engineer on the console to tell if I was talking louder or quieter. And it's like I could never find that adapter cable. And so what I would usually end up doing is to just like pick up the jack and kind of like put my thumb on it, which kind of creates a buzz. But it always kind of felt really kind of what's the term, kind of
amateurish.
Yeah, it's kind of like makeshift, kind of thing. So I kind of thought like surely there must be a more kind of accurate way to test this. So when I started to use the sound bullet to do this, it's just like it was one of the greatest like the liberations of like my career, because I was like, finally I can just go zzz, and I worked at events where there was a band in particular that they had like 30 DI boxes.
Wow.
Because of like lots and lots of like synthesizers and keyboards and like laptops and like sequencers and stuff like that. And when I had this, I was like, oh no, that's dead. Okay, let's let's swap that around. The amount of time that would have taken to troubleshoot that with this guy on the synths, it would have been so much longer, because it's like in a synth, especially like a modular synthesizer, there's like so many things like like that could go wrong, and you like patching stuff, and so it was really good to kind of like swap that DI around and know that like if there's any issue is to do with the synthesizer. So that's like that helped me a great deal. So like the 1/4 inch output is like one of my favorite use.
Yeah, but going off of that, David, I think it just thought of a use for you that you may want to think about for marketing or whatever. Going off the 1/4 inch output, not only is that useful for DIs, but think about how useful that is. Like if you track it down and like, hey, the guitar's pedal rig is a problem. Okay, which pedal now? Now you can literally isolate pedal by pedal by pedal, because it's all 1/4 inch. You could test through every single pedal and figure out, hey, where's the pedal that's dead, or which chain in that cable, because those cables go bad. That's even a perfect tool for there too. So like, hey, guitarists, buy this. Like, because I've seen guitarists that have as few as 5 pedals, and then I've worked with one guitarist that he had a 15 pedal board.
Right.
Like, with a sound bullet, trying to trigger something like that is going to be maybe less than 5 minutes. Without it, yeah, good luck.
yeah. And like, sorry, want to go?
No, and this goes as well as the outputs, correct? If you sit there and a lot of people will sit there and use the 1/4 inch outputs, to run anything. They could be running down to a cry room. They could be running, what we call the cry room, the nurseries. And not only are you checking the signal going back in through the DI box, but you can also use that 1/4 inch with the speaker to check your 1/4 inch outputs, correct?
Yeah, like that is correct. And like something that people don't realize is that the 1/4 inch here acts as an output as well as an input. So you can, if you turn the sound bullet on and press the button, it starts to when the LED goes blue, it outputs like the signal into the 1/4 inch, which allows you to test like a guitar amplifier, bass amplifier, DI box. But if you just like turn on the sound bullet and can literally like do nothing, any kind of a keyboard output, synthesizer output, a guitar output that goes into the jack, onto the 1/4 inch, will be like reproduced by the little speaker. So it's just like a kind of like a combo a connector in a way, so you can use it to test inputs and outputs.
And that's what Thomas, I think what he was talking about, you can sit there and take this and test your own equipment, not only good for your line checks, but if somebody's up there and, you want to please the artist, you want to get this show going. So it's not like, no, you can't use my toy. This is my ball and I'm going to go home with it. It's something you can hand them and say, here, plug this in. Let me show you. And let's get through your equipment so we can get you hooked into our equipment.
Yeah.
I just had an interesting idea talking about the 1/4 inch use for input and output.
Go
David,
ahead.
do you know if it will work through an SGI, so you can know if an SGI transmitter or receiver is working correctly?
What is an SGI? Sorry, I'm not really.
So it's from Radial. There's the teleport system from TC Electronics. It looks like a DI box, 1/4 inch in at the guitarist pedal board, but then it transforms in line drives over XLR and then reconverts on another box so you can relocate the amps off stage. Do you know if this would go through an SGI properly? Because if it does, that's nice.
Yeah, I'll probably need to look into it a little better just to give 100% answer. But I would say that there would be no issue to do that. It definitely you definitely wouldn't be able to use that for the amplified signal coming out of a guitar head. But if you have this like SGI, so it's basically like a quarter inch into the DI box, then XLR to like another DI box, and then like the quarter inch again.
Exactly.
I would say that like you can just kind of output signal from the sound bullet on the quarter inch into the DI box, and it would be received at the other end, or you could be in place of the the first DI box, I would say. I wouldn't see any issues there, but again, I would need to look into it just to be sure.
Just so you know, brother, Marshall's probably one of the most intelligent individuals I've ever known on the face of this earth when it comes to electronics and routing and things of that nature. I tease him all the time. I call him EF Hutton. They used to run the commercials. When EF Hutton speaks, people listen. So, a lot of stuff, he just talks over my head. But, when it gets down for promoting this product, the more people, it's not strictly for sound engineers. It's for people playing electronic instruments. It's for people that want to set up, because when they set up, they want to make sure that their gear's right. A lot of the guys that we work with, they come up, we've got our own stage box up there. They're running their own rack, their own in-ear systems and everything. And, they want to sit back there. They want that confidence too, to where they can plug it in and say, okay, everything on my system's going out. All I got to do is plug in and you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is kind of like more like it could also be beneficial to like the backliners as well, I would say. Probably not as much as a patch person, but everywhere that there's signal, I suppose it's quite helpful.
Absolutely. On the pink noise output, you have 3 different dB levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you go into that? Well, that's what about if can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens there is that you can choose to generate at minus 40 dBu, minus 20, and minus 10. The reason these numbers came up is that I know that there are some other testers or like some other kind of ways to test stuff that where you would usually use plus 4 dBu. I found that was a little bit more kind of towards the studio or like a broadcast end, and in a way, I thought that the sound bullet would be used more by kind of live sound engineers. So one of my favorite, one of my other favorite tests to do with with the sound bullet is to plug this into the back of a a self-powered speaker, because I would do quite a lot of kind of line array systems and stuff like that. So before I lifted the whole cluster into the air, I would just go straight into the back of the self-powered speakers, for example Mayer Sound or RCF, and then I could just quickly flash everything, or just to flash it from the ground, straight into rooms, because I wasn't really maybe sure how to use the Galileo or whatever. So I thought that if I gave users an options to select plus 4 dBu, if they selected that by mistake and plugged that into the back of a speaker, they would have heard pink noise from the moon, because it's plus 4 dBu by mistake is a really bad mistake into the back of a speaker. So so that's kind of why the minus 10 is the highest level, because it's kind of in a way, I've kind of done a few tests, and I found that it's like a hot signal, right? Minus 40 came out of I plugged pink noise into the major brands of sound consoles. So I plugged a pink noise into a Midas Pro 2, into a Digico SD series, into an Allen Heath, whatever SQ, into Yamaha stuff. And minus 40 was the average signal that was able to light up the very last LED of the meter. So I when your gain input is on the default, so kind of on a DG it would be 0 dB, on a Midas Pro 2 or whatever would be 0 dB as well. So basically, I kind of thought that if somebody just kind of like opened up a desk and records the kind of starter scene, if you just plug the sound bullet straight in like at -40, that would be a kind of quiet level, and it would still kind of show up into like the meter, so you could see something like coming in without having to gain up that input. And then -20 just kind of nicely sits in like in between the -10 and -40 basically. So that's the kind of idea.
Am I understanding you correctly that you did not test this on my X32 racks? I'm just playing with you. Everybody, I get so much grief up there. You know, I don't care if you paid $100,000 for your board, man. For what I do, for the area that I'm at, I love my little X32 rack. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
you know, I got two S16s now. I take them and throw them up on stage. I got 32 inputs, 16 outputs, and I'm running it off of an iPad. But I was curious about those numbers, and your explanation is spot on.
Nice. Okay, that's great. That's great. I was able to explain that because quite a lot of people get confused because I think that there's been a couple of emails where people went like, oh, why isn't there like a +4 dBu? And then I kind of like explained like this, and they were like, oh, do you know what? That's actually a good call because I wouldn't want to plug this into a line and it's like mega hot because it's the sound bullet isn't really like something that you would use to calibrate things, so to calibrate things is great with like the NTI MR Pro. It's like a little kind of blue thing, and it can give you like a really really exact like signal level. And that's great if you want to calibrate your VU meters on like a recording studio. The sound bullet is just like a quick and ready kind of way to just kind of like quickly flash something into it. You don't need to pull out your glasses and kind of go, oh, I need to just kind of turn it on and like throw in. You don't have
to flip through a 12-page manual trying to figure out, okay, what does all of this mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that about it. It is, man. It's for something that looks simplistic. I know the circuitry that you have going in there is just absolutely fabulous. Because that's exactly what it did. And when I was using it, it's the same way. And the last thing that I want to mention, and this is really good for the church scene. And that's where you can plug your earbuds into this. If you're up there and you got people praying on stage, your praise and worship team, they're in prayer, the service is getting ready to start. Somebody had an issue. You want to go up there and check it. You're not disturbing anybody. You can sit there and plug your earbuds in. You can hear exactly what you need to, and nobody will even know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like sound engineers in a way are supposed to be like transparent, right? You don't really you don't want to really see like what they're doing. They kind of need to be like the kind of ninja of sound, right? You're gonna want to like sneak around
until something goes wrong. Yeah, then everybody knows who you are.
Like I suppose quite a lot of people wear black clothing because when something goes wrong, they don't want to be seen. They probably don't want to wear like a white t-shirt like me, Yeah,
and speaking of that too, actually just an interesting thought I had too, like if push came to shove, because you can plug headphones into it, if you had to in a pinch, you could technically use it as a mono in-ear pack for a performer if one of your pack dies on stage for some unforeseen reason. Like you have an extra backup reason for it.
I actually, so I have a little band as well. So I remember I had a passive in-ear pack, but the sound engineer wasn't really able to give me like enough juice to kind of like hear it on my like in ears while I was playing. So I just kind of thought, I'll just use the bullet. Why not? It's definitely like not meant to do that. Like as you rightly say, it's like in a pinch you would use that, because if you start to I kind of like discovered by reading about product marketing, product management, and all of that kind of stuff. If you start to advertise that this can be used like an IM pack, then like that's where quite a lot of people start to complain that, oh, do you know what? like like the battery doesn't last very long. It's a mono.
Right.
I can do this, I can do that, kind of thing. And it's you could totally, I mean, you could use your sound bullet to wedge up, to have like a monitor tilted as well if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not designed for it.
There's like so many things you can do with the sound bullet, but it's up to you to discover them.
Well, let me tell you one thing you don't have to do, brother. You don't have to change the batteries in it. And you can sit there and charge that right up from the USB port, correct?
Yeah. Absolutely,
and you can even use it at the board side as it's charging.
Yes, yeah. That actually, like, funny enough, that wasn't like intentional. After we made it, like after it was a product, we were like, oh, I'm gonna say, can we use this while it's charging? And then we were all kind of with sweaty palms and stuff. Yes, it works. So it was quite nice to find out that it actually works when you're charging it.
Yeah, awesome. That's something underestimated that people don't think of. It's like designing a circuit that can charge while being powered on is actually not insignificant in electrical design. So it's awesome that you guys do have that function.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the fun part of the adventure of conveying my sound engineering knowledge to an electronics engineer, or like more than one electronic engineer, is the fact that it's like nothing is obvious. Like for example, like the very first prototypes of the sound bullet would fry as soon as you would plug this into like an input with phantom power on it. Because in the mind of an electronics engineer, like what should really happen is that everything is very kind of nice and slow. You plug the device in, you turn on, like the phantom power is off, then you turn it on and nicely ramps up, and here we go. Here's the like the 48 volts that you were expecting. This is not what the real life scenario is. Phantom power is on already, and it's like 48 volts there. So as soon as you plug in, it bites you. So it was quite fun to kind of go through this like communications obstacles, I suppose, where to me it's so obvious that phantom power will be on already, but for like an electronics engineer, that's crazy. So it took like extra weeks to kind of change the PCB design in order to for that to not fry. And it's so it's quite fascinating how different eras work in our company and our manufacturing company.
And speaking of that, it does also check your phantom power.
Yeah, I can do that as well. Yeah, and it can test that on pin 2 and pin 3. So if you line check, like an input of a desk, if the person with the sound bullet on his hands sees the two LEDs, which are like these two here, if the two LEDs come on, and the person on the sound console sees the signal coming in, and they can kind of hear it, then that is 100% a healthy XLR line. Because if pin 2 was the little wire inside the cable was disconnected, you might still hear the sound at the console, but then one of the two LED lights wouldn't come on. Or if pin 1 was somewhere down the line was disconnected, the sound engineer on the sound desk would still hear the sound, but the person on the stage wouldn't see the lights coming on. So it's a thorough way to check a line. And this the only thing that doesn't test is if pin 2 and 3 are swapped, which is a polarity reversal. That never really encountered myself. I only did once, and it was a really bad mistake because it was a keyboard. So one of the two, the left channel was in phase, in polarity, and the right channel wasn't. So when you went and summed them up on the desk, they would just cancel each other out, which was really strange because I could see the meters coming in, but there was no sound coming out. And I sat there for 10 minutes, trying to work out what the issue was. And when I unpaired like the two channels where I was able to just have like one or like the other. Then like I could hear the keyboard, but it was a really panicky moment, and I wasn't really sure what to do.
Now you just click the button, brother. Reverse polarity. Click.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how it fits it.
Hey, Thomas, I told him I wasn't going to put him on the spot here, but I just thought of something as well. And this is pretty well up your alley. The new platform or whatever they're coming out with, using the XLR cables for not really for the microphone. You know what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the new Stage Connect protocol from Midas Behringer / Clark Technic.
Is it the AES-42? Is it?
No, it's something completely new. That the Wing is the first console to have it. The stage boxes are by Midas, and the adapters are Clark Technic, and it's some kind of serial audio bus that's 32 channels at 48 kilohertz, and it's 32 channels max. People get that confused. So it could be 32 from the console to the stage, 32 channels from the stage back to the console, 16 by 16, any mixture, but 32 channels over a single XLR cable is what they're doing.
Oh wow! Okay, so it's kind of like a like an AES signal, but it's like a lot, like so many more signals can go down one line.
Yeah, it's also got power too. Actually, it's got
it's a 3-wire XLR.
Yeah, because if you have the Midas Stage Connect boxes, I think you could do 2 without having to have daisy chain power. So there's a couple different boxes, but like let's say we're doing outputs for in-ears, because that's the one downside people don't like about them, but I can see the use for them. The input Stage Connect boxes have no preamps. It's line level only, which for like synths or stuff like that, that's perfect. You don't need preamps on those.
Yeah.
But let's say we're doing all outputs, and you have 2 of their 16 channels, which is the DN4816-0. You could daisy chain those together and have the primary connect to the console over a single XLR cable up to, I think they say 100 meters. One big thing to note for anyone that watches this later on, it's not standard XLR. And I don't think most people know that, Dana. If you're under 50 meters, you can use a standard audio XLR cable, which is 75 ohms.
Yeah.
As soon as you're 50 meters up to 100, you have to use 110 ohm, which is the same as DMX cable or AES-3. So that's a big thing to note that some people get hit with. But yeah, so single XLR cable, you could have 16 channels or 32 channels of output, and you don't even have to power the output boxes. It's all coming over this single Stage Connect XLR connection, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of like PoE kind of vibes.
Yeah, I forgot how much wattage they say it can do. I think they say it's like 10 watts of output, which is decent.
Yeah. Wow, that's like that's crazy and quite cool. But it's also like a little bit like concerning in case somebody plugs their Sunbullet into this line and the protections don't work.
Well, all of this, what you're doing there, brother, is over my head. But people do stuff that sometimes we do stuff we shouldn't do, and sometimes something will work when it wasn't even designed to work for that. And that's why I brought it up. Marshall, you have any more questions? David, you got anything else that you want to add?
I just wanted to really thank like Marshall for using the what is it, like the meters instead of feet, because when I start to talk in feet, like my head just goes into So,
I mean, I try to go meters as much, even though I'm American, like as much as Dana, I'm in the South. I always try to use meters because, like, I always tell this to audio engineers that are learning, try to learn the meters conversion as much as you can, because, like, if you look at like cabling, it's almost always going to be in meters. It's easier
all
to learn.
In meters.
The biggest one where meters will come into play is if you're starting to have to do delay calculations. I don't care if it's an American console, a European console, almost all the time, it's going to be millisecond per meter delays is the default reading it's going to say on the console. So you have to understand in meters. So yeah, I get you, David. But yeah, that conversion is like, oh yeah, it's 3.3 feet. But like, what is that again exactly when you're going from 50 meters, 100 meters? It's like, yeah, it gets nuts.
Yeah, because somebody asked me the other day, how many meters are in 5 foot? I said, I don't know, man. How big's your soundboard? You know, when I hear meters, I'm not thinking. I'm thinking feet. You know, I'm thinking sound. It's just an error that I grew up with.
Like I said, I know that it's 1 meter equals 3.3 feet. I know it off the top of my head, but like I said, when you get to like 50 meters, it's like, okay, what does that translate to? 100 meters, I know that it's 330 feet because 100 meters is the Ethernet limit as well. And I know that that's 330 feet, but like 50 meters is something different. It's like, what's that calculation again? Yeah, just screw it. It's 50 meters.
Because I actually I worked on recently I worked in the Carnegie Hall in New York, and it was like my first kind of show in in the US, and I had to kind of quickly make calls about what length of cables I wanted, and my head, because I had to do it, kind of in a rush, and like my head just went kind of in a big mush. I couldn't think. I was like, just give me 50 feet. That would do.
I tell you, and it's sad too, because the only conversion charts that I have are pinned to my refrigerator when I'm cooking.
Right. You take your fridge to a gig, right? Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Man, I've loved it. I had a great time doing it.
Oh, me too. That was great to chat to you, Donna.
Somebody asked me this morning, actually, when they knew that we were going to do this. Everything's in stock. You having any issues with the chips? You having any, supply or ordering shortages or? Yeah,
so we don't really have any issues. Well, we don't have any issues today, right? But we so everything is in stock as far as the for foreseeable future is. The whole management behind trying to make sure that the chips arrive is really heavy. So a lot of our team is really kind of heavily involved with that, because it's suppliers give you a lead time of 2 years, and it's 6 months, and then 3 months, and then 7 years. It's just crazy. But as far as I would say, as far as 2023 is concerned, we should all be covered with chips arriving to us, and things are starting to look a little bit better. But it wasn't a really easy time for us, because all of the heads that we had on working on developing new products, all of a sudden had to be all kind of shifted into making sure that the existing products will continue to to be made, because the R&D team that we use is kind of shared between Sonnect and another company. So that R&D team just got hoovered by working on this, finding components. But as of today, the sample is in stock, and you can find it on sonnectaudio.com. And we ship worldwide with DHL, and it takes about, to the US, it takes about 2 to 4 working days. We also have some dealers, which is Russian Acoustics in the East, and Dave Rat, aka Rat Sound, on the West. So there's it's really easy to get your hands on a sample.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I just did think of one question. I know someone was asking you about that question earlier, Dane, about availability. I've seen this in other forums with it too, and I know you may have gotten emails about this or not, David. Have you guys looked into the possibility of replacing the micro USB for charging with USB-C? I see that asked all the time about people talking about this device.
Yes, so that is something that we have been working on, and it was supposed to be a thing of this summer. But because of all of the heads had to be shifted into making sure that the components arrive and whatever, that kind of shifted, and it's probably going to be an early 2023 thing. the reason we weren't so quick to do that is because, as I was like talking before, like, to make the little chassis thing is like 10 grand, and to change the PCB thing is like, maybe like a grand or whatever.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah. So, well, it's like, so if you change one little connector on your PCB, then like, it's, like that could maybe take 2 weeks, but then, like you might still have like, like 2,000 chassis, sort of like sitting there that are incompatible with the new connector. So, like what do you do? Like, do you throw them away, or do you, like wait until you kind of run out of the, the older kind of chassis? And so that, there's like a little bit of that kind of complexity going on. But the USB-C is a thing that is definitely happening. It's not like a tomorrow thing, but it's probably an early 2023 thing. Yep.
That'll make a lot of people happy. So I honestly get like what you're saying. It takes time. So anyone that's watching this later or now, like you said, from David's mouth, it's coming. Just wait. It's an amazing product. He just wants to make sure it's perfect for you guys, like he already has.
Yeah. Like I and like please, people, like don't feel afraid to like reach us on like hello@sonnectaudio.com. We're really happy to to like be chatting to you and finding out what your needs are, because this is where we collected all of the like evidence that USB-C was a thing that people needed, because there were people that send us emails and messages. So don't hold back on that.
Yeah, because you guys are very active on Facebook as well, right?
Yeah, on Facebook
on your Facebook. Yeah.
Like you can reach us on, like we're not very, we kind of like to be. In fact, like most of the people that work at Sonnect are like sound engineers as well. So we totally understand that it's easier for you to maybe send a DM on Instagram or Facebook instead of like preparing an email, right? So you can just reach us like everywhere. We're really easy on anything, and we're really open to share stuff with you. So
all right, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and kill the recording. Thank everybody for watching it, for the future watching of it. If you got any questions, it's Sonnect, Google Sound Bullet. I guarantee it's going to come up. Take care. God bless. And we are out of here.